How do we gather network performance in real time? Well, we can check it out with IPSLA. Find out next right here on IT Pro TV.
You're watching IT Pro TV.
That's right. We are jumping into IPSLA. And here, of course, to help us to understand how to configure that and verify it working, Anthony Sequeira. Anthony, as we get started here, okay, to me at CCNA, it was one of the harder topics to understand because I had no context for it. So just as a reminder, can you set that context up of like when would I need to do something like that?
Absolutely. That is a problem with this tool that I find with students. Oftentimes they're just like told about it, but again, not given that, what is this there for? Ronnie, this is there for many different reasons, actually. There are many different use cases for the IPSLA feature. You could have this thing running periodically to build baseline information.
Right.
You could have it running periodically, doing testing in the background for you to troubleshoot. You can, and this is very common, the IPSLA tool can be tied to some other feature. So you could have like a backup route that is tied to the IPSLA testing something, or any kind of a backup feature for that in that right. So you have some cutover that can occur if maybe an interface is down or if a router's down. So there's many different use cases for the IPSLA. So that's the first thing we really want to impress upon you, that this is a multi-purpose tool. The other thing that I think we want to know about this is that there are two ways in which we use it. One is for very basic tests that can actually run against any IP device. Okay. You could have a printer over there in the corner with an IP address, and you could do IPSLA testing against it. The sophisticated tests, though, those are going to require what we call an IPSLA responder device, and that would have to be a Cisco device. And I will, let's jump to the command line actually without any further ado, because Ronnie, I'll show you just how you can confirm what tests would involve the responder. But just so you know, we go to the command line and we do IPSLA, as you might guess, to start working with this feature. And if you get some context sensitive help, notice that one of the things that we do is give a locally significant identifier number, right? So I could say like IPSLA 10. And notice that I always use context sensitive help here on this feature like this, because this is nothing I do every day. This isn't like configuring OSPF for us engineers and things like that. This is something that you do kind of sporadically, I guess, unless your job was like 100% troubleshooter, right? But so now I'm in IPSLA configuration mode. And let me do a question mark again. Oh, okay, these are the tests that I can do. Now, notice that some of these are super simple, like just let's automate pinging with the ICMP echo test. Do you think that would be one of the ones that requires a Cisco router out at the other end?
Shouldn't.
No way. Yeah, logic tells you that, well, as long as the remote device can respond to ping, well, I could use that against any IP host out there on the network for testing, and that's absolutely right. It's the more sophisticated ones, like the TCP connect operation, to get some real detailed metrics on transmission control protocol. That's one of the ones that's going to require the RTR responder or the IPSLA responder. Let me explain that one. You'll hear me say RTR a lot in us actually like slipping up when I describe IPSLA. This feature years and years ago used to be called the real-time responder, or RTR. And they changed the language to IPSLA, but you'll see in a lot of spots where there's still, they slip up and have that RTR in there. So it's easy to make that mistake. So let's just say, Ronnie, we want to configure this simple ICMP echo test. So what do you think we're going to give for parameters under this IPSLA configuration? Well, of course, a destination address. Let me do 192.168.0.2, for example. I'm using my context-sensitive help to see what other options exist. Sure, I could do source interface. How about I do that? Source interface will be loopback 0 on this device. Now, what else can we configure? Well, look at this. We can configure a frequency. So I could say, let's run this IPSLA automated ping test. Let's run it every 10 seconds. What else could we configure? Well, we could do thresholds and timeouts and all this stuff. But great. So I've got this little echo test, ICMP echo test, that's going to be done every 10 seconds. Now, how do I actually do the test?
Now, Anthony, I like this portion because I think this is where people don't understand. Like, if you go, well, that's the big difference. It's going to be sending a ping. Why do I care about this? Well, look at all the features that we can do here, right?
Yeah.
That ability to say how frequently you want it done.
Absolutely.
That ability to set that threshold. So you're actually kind of tweaking it to actually give you exactly what you want.
Yeah, this is automation, right? This is built-in automation.
Right.
Yeah, capabilities that we have. It is great. What did I want to? Oh yeah. How do we say
how do
like
we do it?
go?
Right.
Yeah. It's so tempting when you configure this to be like, okay, it must be pinging that address for me right now. No, it's not doing anything for you. We do IPSLA question mark again, and notice there's a schedule. So now I bet you we have to enter the number. Sure. And then when is it going to start? So Ronnie, I'll go ahead and start this one we just configured right now. And then we can say the life will be, why not? We're in a lab.
Yeah.
So look at that. It is going to be doing that ping test every 10 seconds for us forever.
Yeah, and this is one of those other kind of tweaking options that's really good. What if you only need it to run for 24 hours?
Yeah.
But Anthony, I don't want to sit there and just go, all right, I'm going to ping and just try and say, we're going to ping 10 million pings.
Yeah.
And try and see if we can guess that it's going to be 24 hours long. By being able to set this up here where we're saying, here's how frequently we want, or excuse me, here's how it actually is going to run from this particular time to forever, or maybe the next 12 hours or whatever it might be. That's where the power of this comes in to give us the real type of performance monitoring that we're looking for.
Yep. And if you see this in the CCIE lab exam and you have to configure this, read really carefully.
Right.
Because what they love to do is trip you up on how frequently does it run and when does the overall thing run, right? You got to read real carefully if you get this in your CCIE lab. So notice the verifications here. There's a ton of show commands. One of the big ones that you would want to do would be like, okay, what configuration do I have in place? So this is telling me, all right, Anthony, you're going to be pinging 192.168.0.2 from your loopback 0. You're going to be doing the ICMP echo test. Somewhere in here, it's going to say that it's every 10 seconds. I don't see that, but oh, there it is. No, that's entry number 10. I think I told it to do it every 10 seconds. That should be in here somewhere. Really? Oh, there it is right here. Operation frequency. I was like, wow, why is that not in there, Roddy?
Yeah.
And then, of course, what you're going to want to see is the results, right? So one of the ways we can get that is show IP SLA statistics, and you could say aggregated. You could ask for details. If I just hit carriage return, it just gives me a really nice overview here. It says, hey, the latest round trip time, I love it, was 2 milliseconds. Wow. Blazing good speed between these routers. I would hope so. R1 and R2 are directly connected. It says, hey, it worked. Okay, so we're getting that. Yeah, we were able to ping from our loopback to that destination. And look at this, Ronnie. I've been talking so much, it's run 12 times.
Right.
Yep. So 120 seconds worth of these tests.
Now, Anthony, there's a way that we can also tie this to something that we want to track, right?
That's right. So a lot of your features like, oh, HSRP. You could tie in HSRP to this. So in other words, you could be testing for something out there, anything. And then you could do a cutover between the active and the standby router. So it's IPSLA syntax to look for in other Cisco features where you can tie this in. Now, by the way, let's stop this. It feels irresponsible to me, even in the lab, to have this going on. So I'm thinking we could go in and say IPSLA schedule for the entry 10 there, and we could say life, or I think we can actually do it with start time, right? We could say, boy, that's funny. How am I going to stop this thing? I bet you by manipulating the life. I could say one easy way to do it would be to right now. Okay, it's already started. It won't let me do that. Oh, this is so funny. How do we stop it? I got to think. I don't usually let these run forever. I got myself into a real problem by doing
So just issuing a no in front of that would not possibly work?
That might work.
I don't know for sure.
Yeah. Let's try it. This is fun. IPSLA, schedule, 10. Oh, I see what you're saying. So I had set the life to forever. And you're saying negate that. That might work, actually. Let's try that.
I don't think I've ever tried to do it. That's
Yeah, it may work. We'll figure out how to stop this thing. You just did it, Ronnie. You are the man. Ronnie is the man. So let's make sure that we're going to end. We're going to do show IPSLA. Statistics should give it to us. Look at that. What we want to see. So it's like, hey, look, we don't know what's going on with your IPSLA feature because it's not running right now. Now, great stuff. I'm sure you're really anxious to play with this feature and experiment with it. By all means, do so. Try the different show commands. Ask for details on your show commands with this feature. But let's talk for a minute about another device here. So that's the R1 device is where we would be setting up the IPSLA, let's say, right? What about that responder feature that I talked to you about? Let's take a look at that. If you have a Cisco device that supports IPSLA as the destination, you can do some of the fancier tests. And that's IPSLA, and there it is, responder. And notice here that we have like the UDP echo, the TWAMP responder. I have no idea what that is. Okay, so that's some sophisticated test. Ronnie, you got to do a search on that. That is hilarious. AMP is advanced malware protection. So maybe that has to do with advanced malware protection. Hilarious.
It is two-way active measurement protocol.
Two-way active measurement protocol.
Yeah.
Well, you know, you got to love our disciplines of Cisco networking, right? There's always something to study. So I just gave myself something to look at tonight. But there's a big one, TCP Connect, right? So we can do more sophisticated tests. And what you do is you set this up on this machine, and this is now going to be this active, more sophisticated device that you are testing from, in our case, the R1. So R1 is set up with the IPSLA going to this machine with the particular IP address and port we can set up to do more sophisticated testing. So that's it really about the IPSLA. I mean, you could get into details on specific things you could test for, like jitter. That's a cool one. And that would be for voice over IP environments. But you certainly know enough now to be dangerous with IPSLA. And from an Encore exam perspective, you know now more than you even need to know.
All right, Anthony. Well, thank you again for helping us to take a look at the idea and the usage of IPSLA. Remember that Anthony did show us how to set it up as well as the responder. He told us the context in which we would normally use it, as well as showed us those show commands that are actually very key for you as well. Well, that's enough of IPSLA, and we will go ahead and end this episode then. Signing off for IT Pro TV, I'm your host, Ronnie Wong.
And I'm Anthony Sequeira.
Stay tuned right here for more of your CCNP Encore show.
Thank you for watching IT Pro TV.